The City Council regular meeting, February 24th, 2026. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and remain standing for the invocation.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Heavenly Father, we thank you for bringing us together this evening to serve our community. Grant us wisdom in our decisions, passion in our actions, and unity in our purpose. Bless our town, our leaders, and all who call Newman home. In your name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Thank you. Roll call.
Councilmember Pimentel.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Ball. Councilmember Tomlinson.
Here.
Councilmember Hardin. Here. Mayor Graham.
Here. Any declarations of conflict of interest today? None? Ceremony members. Items from the public. Anybody wishing to speak from the public? Seeing none, we'll move on. Consent calendar. A, waive all readings of ordinance and resolution except by title. B, approval of warrants. C, approval of minutes of the February 10th, 2026 meeting.
I move we adopt the consent calendar.
I second.
We have a first and second. Going to vote electronically. Vote passes 4 with 1 absent. Item number 10, or item number 9, public hearings. Adopt a resolution 2026 next then number. A resolution authorizing the automatic annual inflation adjustment for capital facility impact fees for the period of March 1st, 2026 through March 28th, 2027. Lou, welcome.
Well, we are not messing around tonight. Okay. So last year, the council approved a Nexus study which set the rates that we need to charge developers for building homes within our community. As part of that study, we adjust those rates each year based on the changes in the consumer cost or the construction cost index. Construction cost index went up 2.87% from December to December, last two. You'll notice that there are two different rate charts that we're approving. One of them is for our vested maps, those for developers that have already submitted maps to us, and then the other is for any new development that comes in. It is a public hearing, so we just need to open up, take up any comments from the public, and then once we close it, just make a vote.
Okay. I'll open up to the public. Anybody wishing to speak on this item? All right, seeing none, I'll bring it back to council for action.
Move to adopt resolution number 2026, a resolution authorizing the automatic annual inflation adjustment for capital facility impact fees for the period of March 1st, 2026 through February 28th, 2027.
Got
Second.
first and second, going to vote electronically. Motion carries 4 with 1 absent, 4-0 with 1 absent. Thank you, Lou. Item number 10, regular business, adopt a resolution 2026, next number, a resolution adopting the mid-year budget changes for fiscal year 25 and 26. No, you're still here.
Okay, so mid-year budget. Well, I'll make it brief. We won't go through all the details on it. Basically, there are 5 different exhibits that are in the report. The first exhibit shows the revenues that we've collected so far. With government cities, we don't usually collect all of our revenues in equal 12 portions, 1/12 every month, except for like water and sewer because we do billing every month. But for our general fund revenues, most of the revenue comes in the second half of the year. So we try and best guess what is going to be coming in. So that's in the first exhibit. The second one is our expenditures to date. Because we're a service agency, a lot of our expenditures come in 1/12 amounts each month because we have employees that we pay equally each month. So those are listed in there. We're usually more concerned with our general fund revenues, our water, and our sewer. Our general fund looks like currently we're going to be declining by about $200,000. That's an early estimate, and a lot of times we get to this point, and by the end of the year, we have a slight increase. So it's nothing to worry about at this point. And even if we still did take a $200,000 drop, we did spend a little over $400,000 this year on equipment that we purchased. And just like many families, you save up money, then you got to buy that new car at one point. So we're actually using the money for good. Our water and sewer, both those funds look like they're going to be doing well this year. In Exhibit C, now these are the changes that we're requesting for budget. In Exhibit C, we have some additional revenues that came in this year that we didn't plan for. Some of our firefighters went out and worked some fires under Cal Fire, and we received funding for those, which we passed through to them. And because it's a significant amount, we decided to include the revenues in the budget and also the expenditures for it. We've also got some grants that were awarded to us too, so we're making the revenue changes on that. And then in Exhibit D, these are the expenditure changes to the budget that we're requesting. You can see that a lot of the stuff in there is from that CAL FIRE grant and also from the streets grant, $150,000 under Fund 18. We're also making a couple changes to some positions. We're getting rid of one office assistant and putting in an assistant planner. We're making changes from corporal lieutenant positions. We've also got some additional grants. And then we're doing some additional Christmas lighting because we need to replace some lights and kind of get them prepped for next year. And on the last exhibit, which is Exhibit E, usually at the beginning of the year, we don't have the financials done, so we're kind of taking a guess at what the ending balance of the prior year would be. At this point, we already know. We've been through our audit and got excellent reviews on it. So we use those beginning balances, and we're projecting ending balances for each of our funds. That's in the right-hand column. You'll notice that there's 3 funds that have negative balance. The first one is the County CDBG Consortium. This is because we usually incur our expenditures during the year and get refunded for it in the following year. So those usually carry a negative balance. And then the last 2 are our business license surcharge and our lighting and landscape district. Our business license surcharge, we spent more than the fund had 1 year because we wanted to improve our decorations for downtown. So future revenues will bring that back up to a 0 balance. And then our lighting and landscape district, expenditures for contract services and for personnel have gotten expensive. And so we're going to attempt next year with our budget to make changes to those so that we can continue to work just under the amount of revenue that's coming in. Other than that, our funds are looking great. Our general fund's got great reserves. We can go 5 months without getting any money in and still be able to operate. So we're sitting in a good, healthy position. So I'd be happy to answer any questions you might have.
Any questions?
No question.
Council for action. Thank you for that, Lou.
Move we adopt resolution number 2026, a resolution adopting the mid-year budget changes for fiscal year 25-26.
I second that.
First and second, go and vote electronic. Motion carries 4-0 with 1 absent. Thank you, Lou. It's good to hear that we have a working reserve. That way we don't have to panic if times get hard. Thank you. Item B, adopt resolution 2026, next number, resolution adopting the City of Newman's T Street Corridor Improvement and Community Connectivity Plan. Thomas?
Good evening. Tonight, bringing for consideration our T Street Corridor and Community Connectivity Plan. Tonight, we're joined by Andrew and Christy from Tool Design Group to give a presentation on how we got to the plan, the final plan that is for consideration. It's going to be a brief presentation, and then we'll have some questions, time for some questions after that, and I'll follow up that presentation with a few more words before your consideration. Thank you, and I'll let Andrew start.
Move a few things. All right. Hi, everyone. I'm Anju, representing Tool Design. We are the consultants that worked on this plan. I was project manager, and this is Christy, our engineer for the project. Thank you for joining us and hearing about this cool project that we are just wrapping up now for your consideration. Today, I'll be providing a brief plan overview, talking about the design concepts that we came up with as part of this plan for T Street, and talking a little bit about the final plan document itself, both the structure and the contents. So the plan was funded by Caltrans Sustainable Community Grants to redesign key corridors in Newman with a real focus on transforming T Street itself into a safer, more connected corridor that supports comfortable travel for all users. The plan also identifies opportunities to improve school routes and community connectivity through new and enhanced bike and pedestrian infrastructure. So that's things like bikeways, sidewalks, crossing improvements across T Street, as well as its connecting corridors as well. So again, the focus of this plan is really on T Street, running from Inyo to Yolo Street. But the plan also looked carefully at designs for Hardin Road, Yolo, Inyo Avenue, and Canal School Road as well. Again, for those additional corridors, we came up with active transportation recommendations, but really, again, the core focus of the plan was on T Street itself. There are really three sort of key goals that we focused on to develop the designs for T Street and the additional corridors, including connectivity, which really is about helping people connect to important community destinations with a real focus on schools, but also looking at parks, downtown, the Newman Environmental Wetland System project, and also future developments and recreational opportunities we know are going to be coming online in the future. Access also, so expanding options for people to access those destinations by modes other than motor vehicles, so things like walking and biking. And lastly, but definitely not least, is safety, so prioritizing safe options for people of all ages and abilities walking and biking and rolling to get around Newman, and especially looking at safety for those school-aged children who are using these corridors to walk and bike to school every day. So this is the project timeline at a high level. So we started with existing conditions and visioning, then moved into design, and recently completed the draft and final plan phase of the project. And you can see kind of up and down on either side of that timeline are some of our key engagement touch points. We had a 3-day design charrette, 2 community surveys, a pop-up, and most recently a community workshop to review the draft plan. So now I'm gonna walk through T Street designs itself. So this is an image of T Street today. It has a really wide right-of-way, 80 feet, 56 curb to curb, 8-foot parking lanes, 14-foot drive lanes, and importantly, no sidewalks. So again, with school-aged children using T Street every day, our top priority is really to provide pedestrian facilities that feel comfortable and safe for kids and family. We also know that a key stakeholder along T Street are the residents themselves. So many homes today don't have driveways. The residents along T Street really rely on street parking. In addition, the front lawn areas have mature trees that are located within the right-of-way that are very special and feel important to residents along the street as well. So with that, a really important goal of our design was to maintain the existing curb-to-curb width and keep those trees and parking spaces available for residents. So this is the design that we're recommending for T Street, which is something we call a bike boulevard. The bike boulevard has no impacts behind the existing curbs, so the existing curbs remain in place. We narrow the travel lanes down from 14 feet to 11, which allows for us to install 9-foot sidewalks on both sides of the street. And we're also proposing that to leave existing parking on either side of the street, but to start to look for opportunities for regular traffic calming treatments, so things like bulb outs and speed cushions. So there's a couple key details of this plan I wanted to call out. We are proposing that driveway ramps be reconstructed at 4 feet wide, which would allow for a 5-foot continuous clear path for pedestrians along the sidewalk. That means better ADA compliance and allows people who are using wheeled devices to easily navigate the sidewalk. So they're not going up and down, they're able to stay at a continuous level path. We're also proposing bulb outs at intersections. So these would be landscaped, but we are not proposing trees in those to maintain visibility at those intersections for cars. But what the bulb outs really do at intersections are help give visibility to pedestrians who are crossing. Also, they help shorten crossing distances for those crossing the street, and they just add greenery and visual appeal to the corridor as well. So that was T Street. Just one last slide here that overviews the plan contents. Chapter 1 really kind of summarizes our project process and goals. We have a chapter that overviews existing conditions for T Street as well as the other key corridors. A chapter that talks about the community engagement we have done and some of the key feedback that we received throughout the process that really informed our design. A full chapter dedicated to T Street design itself. And then we also have those additional design concepts for the remaining corridors and include a chapter with high-level cost opinions and some strategies for funding and next steps. So that is what I have. Thank you so much, and I will hand it back to Thomas.
Thank you. As Anju was saying, this has been in the works since 2023, and due to some internal issues during that timeframe and grant issues, is that the long lead time to this plan. When we got reauthorization from Caltrans in late summer of 25, we hit the ground running. With already existing material, some of that outreach in the design charrette. And then we hit the ground running, getting this done in time for the grant funding. And from that, we had a lot of community input, and which we felt, along with Tool Design Group, that was very important to include the residents both on the T Street corridor and other corridors that we were looking at, along with other members of the community on what may be needed out there. And so we took in a lot of that guidance and recommendations and knowledge from our citizens and put it into this plan. With that, as a reminder, this is a plan that will help us leverage future funding opportunities in the realm of improvements to this corridor. This plan doesn't mean we will start tomorrow on the construction, but it will help us leverage those grant opportunities, and by adopting this plan, we can then use it as a supporting document for future funding opportunities, including some other grants. We use this in conjunction with other grants to then get that funding. And additionally, you've heard me mention the safety action plan, which we'll be bringing for consideration next month, which Tool Design, including Anju and Christina, have helped on that too. Those two plans together will also help. So this is an important piece to that. And so ultimately, this document will be a very big benefit for our community. And so I can answer any questions that you might have about this plan or our next steps. And thank you.
Yeah, I got a question regarding on the crosswalks. Since that's a very active street for walking early morning and nighttime, are these crosswalks being modern style with lighting that light up the roadways to make it visible for traffic? Because there's a lot of people that use that, and at nighttime it's hard to see.
So in the considerations for those types of facilities and improvements, we have identified some different types of crossing identification. Is it? I forget.
RRFBs.
The RRFB. I always forget that acronym. The rapid flashing beacon ones. That's one consideration for these crosswalks. Additionally, as a design for the corridor is started, we'll use this document to support that design. And so whatever the best technology at the time or best practice for those types of lighting, intersection lighting, will be used during that project.
Yeah, I think that'd be beneficial, especially closer to the schools.
Yeah, this plan does identify ways to make those crossings in addition to just the actual bulb outs to make them safer, along with the other plan, not to detract from T Street corridor, but that plan also identifies some equipment that we can use at any intersection throughout town, and including this T Street corridor and other corridors identified in this plan.
Looking at one of the images, it showed speed bumps. And right now, the T Street has natural speed bumps. When you drive down it.
Yes.
But going forward, I assume that would be repaved. Was there speed bumps in the plan?
So we referred to them as speed cushions in this plan, and so they would perform very similar to a speed bump, and they are a best practice recommendation. However, how we use those and include them in the future design would be for consideration when we're looking in that stage of the project, and so it would be installed during the actual T Street corridor if we the city feels that that's the best practice for those speed cushions in those areas.
And with this design or the current plan or the current direction, how do the T Street residents feel about the adjustment to that?
So originally, pre my time, but looking back on that, on those materials, it was stated by many of the T Street residents and the people who did participate in those stakeholder and design charrettes. They did express that curb to curb right here. So curb to curb, as you can see on the slide, we are not going into the yards, the perceived yards of the residents. And that was one big concern, along with the existing mature trees. And then also driveway access to their properties. Of course, we would not block that in the future design. And then also to keep in mind parking considerations for those who don't have a standard or typical parking driveway. And so from the initial input from our T Street residents and other ones who live in the surrounding area, we then brought back the concept that Tool developed, and we did their supporting documentation along with this plan that really digests and breaks down all our community input, and we did get positive confirmations of they did like to see what they'd like this concept, including that we didn't go into the perceived, we keeping mature trees where possible if it doesn't present a safety risk or infrastructure risk, and in addition to those like the bike boulevard. So bike boulevard being on the road itself for experienced riders, and then for those young riders or inexperienced riders, they can still use the sidewalks on both sides because of the width we're putting into the concept.
Can you go back to the previous slide that you just had a second ago of T Street?
The existing?
Yeah, so in thinking about those mature trees and those bulb outs, is there any concern about the existing drainage system being the older part of town, as well as the placement of where they're at right now in those bulb outs? And are we going to have to add more or relocate where our current drainage locations are in order to worry about any kind of potential flooding down the road?
Yes. So in the design concept and consideration, we did look at stormwater management in those bulb outs. It is a good in many communities and best practices to use those bulb outs as a mechanism of stormwater removal and conveyance. And so it would be factored into the design when connecting to existing stormwater infrastructure to be able to move the water off T Street.
Anyone else?
Oh, you guys asked the questions I was going to ask.
Well, excellent job. We appreciate all the hard work that was put into this, and I'm glad the community was involved. So with that, I'll bring it back to council for action.
Mayor, can I say one? I just want to thank everybody that participated, both the residents in town on T Street and the other corridors. Sometimes it can feel like a input fatigue. We do ask for a lot of input from residents, but it's very important and for us to have that. Additionally, the current tool design team, Anju, Christy, there's Kyle, and some previous tool people who are on the project anymore, but did keep it moving forward, and internal staff really were able to get this project to where it's at now, and then ultimately the Caltrans for supplying this grant for us to be able to develop this plan. And thank you, Mayor.
I like it. I'm looking forward to the street being smooth.
Yes.
All right, I'll bring it back to council. Thank you, guys.
I move we adopt resolution number 2026, a resolution adopting the City of Newman T Street Corridor Improvement and Community Connectivity Plan.
I second that.
Second. Motion carries 4-0 with one absent. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Thank you.
Item number C, adopt resolution 2026, next number, a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement with Sonargro WWT Incorporated for biosolids dredging, dewatering, and disposal services, and amending the fiscal year budget.
Thank you. I'm back. Sorry, this title is a little longer than the previous one, but not as my record yet, right? So on this one, we have an issue out at our wastewater treatment facility, and it is to do with an accumulation of biosolids, which is a part of the natural process of wastewater treatment, along with inorganic solids that settle out in the ponds during the treatment process. So the ultimate goal of a wastewater treatment, the primary ultimate goal is removal of both biological and inorganic material out of the waste stream, and then that eventually gets discharged traditionally into a water source. For us, we're able to discharge to farmland. And so that's the background of it. So one of the treatment processes at the treatment plant, it's a pond system. And so the initial pond that the waste stream comes into is highly impacted with solids, both inorganic and organic solids, and which results in a highly inefficient treatment and the inability to reduce those constituents that we have to reduce based on our permit. In addition to that, we found through some investigation from staff investigation along with our wastewater engineering firm Stantec, we found that this accumulation of solids in our what we call it's anaerobic basin 1 or AB1, that pond, that basin being filled with this material, I'm going to refer it to as sludge, is restricting the ability of the flow to come into the pond in a way that allows for us to accurately account for the amount of wastewater coming into the treatment plant. And that's also a requirement by our waste discharge permit to accurately account for that data now, for that flow. So we are able to still report. However, we don't feel those, based on our investigation, we feel those numbers are as accurate as they need to be. And so by having those solids removed, we will be able to continue to meet our discharge permit requirements without getting into a violation, point of violation with the state. So how it's going to happen is Synagro is able to dredge, and dredging can mean a few things, but in this instance, dredging, they will use a pumping mechanism similar to a vacuum truck that you might see on the storm lift stations or on the sewer, cleaning the sewer lines throughout many communities in California. So they use that kind of a setup connected to a dewatering machine that then pulls the solids out, removes that water because we don't want to transport water offsite that's expensive and heavy, and leaves us a very heavy like cake of sludge. And then that gets hauled off and land applied or disposed of in a way that meets biosolids removal and application. And so that whole process Synagro is able to perform. It is quite intensive and expensive process to dredge a pond. However, it is it is a typical maintenance item. However, in this instance, we are on a time crunch to remove those solids to meet our discharge requirements. And Synagro will come on site, set up, do the dredging, the pumping, the dewatering, haul those materials off site, and they have the facilities to be able to dispose of those. They call it there's different class levels of biosolids. And so those biosolids will be, they have been already identified and will ensure they meet those biosolids disposal requirements when we extract them also, but they meet the requirements to be able to be land applied. One could think about it as like a very hopped up fertilizer for for what they call like fodder crops or non-direct human consumption crops. And that process, we need to have it complete sooner than later. And that timeline, we're working with Synagro. If you do authorize the city manager in an agreement, we will have them come in on their schedule in the spring and have this dredging done. And the estimate right now is probably about a week of work, depending on it's one of the things is as they get into the pond and start extracting and dredging that material and dewatering, we'll have a really better understanding of that timeline. But at a minimum, we're thinking about a week to do that work. Synagro were able to come out and do some what they call sludge judging. It's just a long tube, and you're on a boat or on a raft of some kind, and you stick your pond with a big tube and you pull it up, and it tells you how much sludge you have both off the bottom and what we call a sludge blanket on top. And so then they take those measurements along with some samples and they get the density of the material, and then we can calculate how much overall material we have in those ponds. And we're looking at approximately 2,000 dry tons. And so the agreement, currently our estimate is the proposal comes in at $2,494,285 to perform that dredging and dispose of the solids. It will require a budget amendment and to the sewer fund, and I can answer any questions.
And we have that funding in the sewer funds? How often does this process have to be done? How many years?
So depending on a few factors, it can be between 10 and 30 years. So depending on factors of the waste stream coming into a facility, along with other equipment, in future design and expansion considerations for the wastewater plant, we would identify this as an issue and install appropriate equipment. And as the ever-changing waste streams from businesses and industry and to some degree residential, it gets identified. Certain equipment will help remove these solids and the inorganics before they get into the pond, which would reduce the amount of sediment that builds up over time. My understanding, looking back through our records, this pond has not been dredged in the life of the pond. And so that is 30 plus years, I would estimate in that timeline.
Is there any state or federal grants that we can get for that?
It's possible that exists, but due to the timeline requirements to have this removed, once we did identify that this buildup of sludge is affecting both the treatment process and the flow measurements, we don't feel, if staff, along with our engineering firm, Stantec, who designed our wastewater plant and helps us on our reporting, we don't feel that this is something that can wait on a grant timeline without leading into violations with the state.
I'll bring it back to council for action if there's no more questions.
No questions. I move we adopt Resolution 2026, a resolution authorizing the city manager to execute an agreement with Sangagro WWT Incorporated for biosolids dredging, dewatering, and disposal services and amending the fiscal year budget.
Second.
We have first and second, go and vote electronically. Motion carries 4-0 with one absent.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Thomas.
Thank you.
Michael?
Thank you, Mayor. I know the ladies left, but I really wanted to thank Tool. They did a good job on the T Street corridor. It really does reflect what the residents wanted out there. Is it 100% what they want? No, but their main goal was to try to preserve their current way of life, if you will, by not addressing anything on the landscaping side of the curbs. We were able to get that all in, and the people that did show up were happy with it. We did get one resident that said, and unfortunately she had to work tonight, otherwise she would have been here to ask you to approve it. So I wanted to just thank Tool. They had to actually change team members in the middle of the process because we had a protracted extension area there. So happy with them, very happy with them. So it's gonna be a good project. And I was in the Bay Area this weekend, up in like Redwood City area, and they've done some similar things up there. So there's a real opportunity here to create a great little boulevard there. So I hope that the community continues to support that. And as Councilmember, I think it was Councilmember Harden, yeah, we'll have to look at storm drainage for that whole area because there is no real storm drainage in there. So that'll be part of that project, is the installation of a upgraded and new storm drainage system. And we can use some of those bulb outs and some of those other things that are going to partake in that. So it really is a good long-term project for the community. So there was all over social media, the cell tower, right? And that was going on there. So I don't know if you heard, it was denied by county staff. The tower company has appealed that to the planning commission. But based upon what we know, the city will show up next week to again voice our opposition to it, not only in letter form, but we will be there in person to make sure they understand that if they approve it, they'll be in violation of an agreement that we have with them, and also be a violation of their own general plan. So that project has a real uphill battle. So I think we're going to be able to get that stopped in its current location. Not a good location for it. Veteran servants that continue to be here the first and third Wednesdays of the month. We'll probably do a briefing with him next time he comes in, just to see how the first 2 months have gone. We've sent out flyers in our mailers, emails, reminding people. So we'll continue to try to get the word out. So and get those services here, and that people know that those services are here. So again, thanks to Councilman Harden on that. And then just lastly, being this week, yay for me, I get to start meeting with our bargaining groups. All of our contracts are expired, and I originally thought I'd be gone by now and not have to do another one, but unfortunately, that's not the case. So, yay me. That's all I got, Mayor.
VFW is aware that we have this here, the rep for the VA.
I don't know. I'll double check with that. Yeah, that's a good point. Yeah.
Make sure they know that we have a rep here and that it's weekly. That way their guys can pass it on. Maybe they get a flyer or something for them.
And I'll work with the local newspaper. Maybe we put something in the general circular, the Tuesday review, pay for an ad to get out there for the county out there to just remind people it's here.
Throw it on social media.
I think I had sent an email to you about maybe talking to Mr. Martinez and maybe a few folks to see if they've had a chance to experience it and if it met the needs that he originally brought up when he talked about having the services come out.
And he sets up a good program there. I mean, he's got his laptop there. He can provide access to any of the veterans that need anything you can get Modesto, you can now get in Newman. So
Good.
Great.
Thank you, Michael. Lieutenant Short?
Mayor, council members, I have nothing to share tonight on behalf of the police department.
Thank you. Lou?
I'm done talking. I got nothing.
Thank you. Thomas?
Not as lucky from me, but I'll keep it brief. Just a continual reminder that we are having the leaf and brush pickup throughout town. With the rain, we just want to make sure that brush is away from the curbs to allow for that water to flow still. And as always, Burl Audi moves through town on a cycle and gets that cleaned up. I mentioned it a bit during the T Street corridor, but our safety action plan is currently online for review. If any public members want to give any comments to that, they can email me directly. They can email Public Works Department. It's on the website, contact for that. They can give us a call and discuss things too. And we're looking to close that input, I believe, within the next week, and then put that together for consideration in a March timeframe. And then residents might have seen people out at news. That those people are me and some staff, other staff members, along with some a professor and grad student from UC Merced, who we do have an existing agreement with to help provide some sampling and analysis on the stormwater, which is the ultimate goal of the new system, is to clean up that stormwater before it enters the river. And so the facility is not open to the public yet. And so even though you see us out there, and I do take my personal vehicle in with four-wheel drive because it's muddy right now instead of the Prius. And so people are not using it yet. And so I just want to make sure, and the reason why we haven't, it's not fully open to the public yet, is there's some safety considerations and design operation considerations we want to factor in before we have a nice ribbon cutting. And I can answer any questions.
Nothing you mentioned today, but just curious on street signs throughout the city. Do you guys go and take a look at those anytime soon? I know the one at Merced and 33 has been missing for quite a while that hangs on the pole for the...
The one that's on the street light on 33? Okay.
Yeah, by Newman
I think that was mentioned. We'll contact, we'll look into that one. And then street signs in general throughout town. We do window time as we're going through town public works staff. And if anything's identified, we do try to tackle it. And then additionally, we do ask residents if they do notice one. We're not in every neighborhood every day all the time. So if they do notice something, feel free to give us a call, shoot an email out, and we'll take a look at it, see if it needs replacement, updating, or anything like that. And I will look into the sign on 33 in Merced.
Just a reminder that, since that is a state highway, ultimately it's controlled by Caltrans and their schedule. So
Yes.
we'll continue to put the pressure on them to.
Yeah, it requires us to discuss replacement with them often. So
Thank you.
thank you.
Chief Bowen?
Good evening, Mayor, Council. Just a small update. We'll be participating in a multi-agency training drill on March 7th. So we'll have our engine out there in the Ceres area with the other agencies. I don't have anything else unless you guys got anything for me. Thank you.
Well, I just wanted to say I'm really excited about the T Street corridor project right there. I've dodged from school, going from my house to high school, many cars growing up. So I'm really glad about the whole sidewalk thing and the safety. So I'm really excited about that. That's all I wanted to mention.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I'd like to thank everybody for their hard work, and yeah, I'm excited about the T Street program too. So with that, I'll ask for adjournment.
We adjourn.
First.